Okay, in this clip, Peter Crone is going to talk about tapping into flow state, the feeling of effortless effort when time just passes by, the highest state of high performance. Is there a way that you tap into flow state? Do you have any things that when you need to be locked in, you're about to give a talk, or you're coaching somebody through a very intense situation that you do to get into flow state?
It's a great question. And unfortunately, the problem lies in the question, right? Because is there anything that you do to get into flow state? If you look at the subtle implication of the words and the language, and again, as you know, I traffic in language, so I get very specific with words because you may or may not know, and perhaps some of the audience don't know, but abracadabra, which is what a magician says, its actual Hebrew translation is, as I speak, so I create. So I want people to understand that we are all magicians and that our words are the spells that we cast to create the reality that then we step into and live by. So for me, that's not that I do anything to step into flow state. I would assert when there's the absence of the idea of myself, I am in flow state. Flow state is.
That's good.
So it's not something that I do or something that I try to manufacture, create, or get into, but rather in the absence of any thoughts that have got anything to do with time, psychological, past, or future, then what I am is present.
I think this question revolves around how do you clear the brain? Let's say it's you're coaching a high level athlete and they are just so many thoughts, thinking too many things. How do you just let their brain be clear and, like Peter was alluding to, be absent of thought instead of worrying about what they need to do?
Yeah, I'm more left brain than Peter. I want to be able to go, okay, here are the steps.
So am I.
I'm like, here are the steps. Because otherwise, I think you can't teach it. It's
Good point.
just live it. And it's like, okay, how do I do that?
But how do you actually live it?
How do I
Very
actually
good point.
do it? And I think the first step is you learn how to manage your mind, that you don't believe every stupid thing you think. When Alicia Newman was on the runway for pole vaulting, she imagined 2 white lines on the edge of the runway, and they're white hot coals. So the ants couldn't jump in.
Oh, so good.
There. So, and we worked a lot on no mind, right? Trust your training. And so she would have cues like grip it and rip it, or I'm going to hit the box hard where they plant the pole. And only thing I'm focused on is my upper arm. And so she's trusting her training because she's done it thousands of times. And which is why practicing perfectly is so important, right? It's build the neurons, build the long-term potentiation, build that connection perfectly, right? Which is why practice is so important. And then when you're there, don't let your mind screw it up, right? Your brain's going to be incredibly important, right? The idea, we have to take the brain out of it, it's complete stupidity. It's like the brain is there. You want to put your brain in an optimal state, which means you need to have slept the night before, and you need to have imagined perfect performance.
That's good.
But then when you are actually performing, that's when you want to sort of take your mind offline and trust your practice.
Yeah, and the great cues, not thinking about too many things, but you sounds like you gave her just 1 or 2 things. That's what you focus on, eliminates all the other distractions and noise.
Another interesting thing, which I'd actually be interested in your thoughts. Some of the most successful people are successful proving people wrong. And I'm like, that doesn't go with Pollyanna, right? So I'm like, why don't we prove people right? And then I realized, no, I can't put my values on her. I said, every tournament we win or we learn. So let's just measure, do you fly higher proving people wrong, or do you fly higher proving people right? And not have judgment on it, but just be curious. And in the finals, we had this great image of both that, and for some reason, she had an image of minions that the minions, so the people who were against her, people she was going to prove wrong, they would blow up in the stands, and the minions would go grab their energy. They'd put energy in buckets, and they'd bring them to her so she could fly higher. And the people who were going to prove, she was going to prove right, the people who supported her were all sort of holding hands together, protecting her from the negative energy. But it turned out it was both.
I think it is. I think it's a balance between both. Like Michael Jordan used to talk about, he wanted to he would play a game within the game. So he'd create his own game of this person talked trash. This person thinks they can guard me. When in reality, it wasn't happening. So he would have that type of proving people wrong. But then he also had the mindset, and this is coming from George Mumford, his mental coach, who is amazing, and that every time he stepped on the floor, he imagined that somebody new in the audience would never be able to see him again. So he wanted to perform for that person who will never see him again. So I think it's a balance of both to get to that level. I love the minions, though. That's really cool picture imagery, man. That's awesome.
And then it's studying it to see what works for you.
Exactly.
Because motivation is not the same for everybody. And I think if you're a little ADD-ish, proving people wrong will work better for you.
Yeah, you know,
I think if you're a more connected person, proving people right will work for you. And I think don't judge it. Just try it.
Yeah, like a teeter-totter. Figure out which side you need more of. It's good.